So when we're doing an ABI, for today at least, I'm going to be utilizing three specific things. I'm going to have my ultrasound gel, my blood pressure cuff, as well as my Doppler. And we're going to use these three items collectively to give us all the information that we need to perform the ABI. Now, over here on this board, I do have a quick little cheat sheet, if you will, of what we're trying to do. Basically, if we're going to look for a right ABI, we're finding the highest pressure in the right foot. I'm going to be looking at the dorsalis pedis pressure as well as the posterior tibial pressure. And then I'm also going to be looking for the highest pressure in the arm. In this case, we're looking for the brachial artery pressure. One of my colleagues over here mentioned that we could use a stethoscope, and you can. You can use the stethoscope as long as you mark down what those values are, but for today we're going to use a Doppler because we can actually hear the Doppler. Okay. So what I'm going to do first is, if you can swing around over here, I'm going to apply some of this ultrasound gel. And I just want to listen and make sure we have the brachial artery. So without the blood pressure cuff, I just want to locate the brachial artery and listen to the Doppler sounds. Yep, and then there's a button on the actual, yeah. So we'll turn that on. And for this Doppler, yeah, and then when you turn it on, you'll see the green light.
There we go.
What we can do is we can lower the volume a little bit. There we go. So we have the brachial artery. I'm going to kind of remember this spot right here. And so now we can put on the blood pressure cuff. And the idea is I put on the blood pressure cuff and I want to occlude the artery so I can't hear it anymore. Okay. And so now we'll deflate this first. And what I want to do is we'll listen to the brachial artery. And we'll try to bring it just a go. Yep. And so what we're going to do is we're going to now puff up the blood pressure cuff. And we keep on going until we can't hear it anymore. All right, so now we keep it there, and then we're going to slowly release until we can hear it once more. And at that point, that's the number we're going to Okay. So when we get that value, that's going to be what we're going to use for the component for our arm, the brachial artery. Okay. So now we can go ahead and let everything go. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and find the same, but for the foot. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the dorsalis pedis artery, which is located on the dorsum of the foot, as well as the posterior tibial artery, which is located just behind the medial malleoli. And when we do this value, what we want to do is we want to pick the highest value between the dorsalis pedis or the posterior tibial arteries. So for today's demonstration, I want to first find the dorsalis pedis pulse. So dorsalis pedis pulse is typically found on the top of the foot, close to that first ray, so the first metatarsal bone. So I'm going to put some ultrasound gel on top. And what we can do is we can spread that around a little bit. And something that I like to do when I'm looking for this artery is to kind of go from medial to lateral or lateral to medial, trying to catch that dorsalis pedis artery as it runs vertically along the dorsum of the foot. Okay. So then you can increase. Okay. So now what I'd like to do is go ahead and put the blood pressure cuff along the ankle here. And now we're going to pretty much do the same thing. I'm going to find the pulse, and then I'm going to push up the blood pressure cuff so that it occludes that pulse, and then we're going to slowly release it. And when we start to hear that pulse again, that's the value that we would use for the dorsalis pedis aspect of the ABI. All right. So now you can start to release it. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the posterior tibial. And like I said before, that's located right behind the medial malleoli. And I'm going to apply some ultrasound gel. And then we're going to search for that again. So we found it, and now we're going to occlude it by pushing up the blood pressure cuff. And then we slowly release. So you can slowly release it. All right, and then when you hear the value again, we make note of that value, and we use that for the posterior tibial aspect of the blood pressure. And so, once again, if you look over here at our board, what I'm basically trying to do is I want to look for a right ABI and a left ABI. And for the right ABI, I would utilize the highest pressure for my right foot, whether it's the dorsalis pedis or the posterior tibial, and I use that as the numerator. And then I can utilize the highest blood pressure, the brachial artery, of either the right or the left, and I use that as the denominator. And when I do that ratio, I get my right ABI. And then I would do the corresponding same thing, but on the left side for the left ABI. And that's how we complete an ABI.